Hi, good evening. This is Nicole Ronningen, and I'm talking to you tonight about sleep. Why does sleep matter? Why is it important? And then also some of the reasons why we don't get sleep and some of the things that we can do to help us get some sleep. So I just want to thank you tonight for coming. Like any of our classes online, we would love to be the one to work with you. But if someone invited you here, we would love for you to go back and find out how to get these products from them. So this is an open education class. It's for everyone. And we just want you to be able to go to the person who loved you enough to share these oils and doTERRA products with you. So with that being said, why does sleep matter? Well, we're finding that sleep is really one of the three pillars of health, along with diet and exercise. And so nutrition and exercise and sleep together are really the picture of health. And so we're also finding that a lack of sleep is causing more and more sleep disruption or more health disruptions. And Kirty did a really great job last week talking to us about all the things that happen in our bodies when there isn't any sleep. And I was talking to a friend about sleep, and she was sharing with me that the World Health Organization actually listed shift work or working, graveyard or swing shift as actually being a carcinogen, because the way that lack of sleep at nighttime affects our health. It's actually listed as a carcinogen. So that's really, really scary. So basically, some of the risks of sleep disruption, just to recap, loss of attention, a high level of micro sleeps, but not really that deep, low, deep sleep. It helps, sleep helps us store memory and process information. So if we're not getting sleep, we have a failure to process that information and form memories. It also has been found that people who don't get enough sleep are more impulsive and less empathetic. So think about teenagers and not getting enough sleep. That's really scary. We want our teens to have empathy, and we want them to not be impulsive in their decision-making processes, right? It hinders memory, so it can actually impair your memory development, and it reduces cognition and creativity, and that's a bummer. Kirty shared about how it's just as dangerous to operate a vehicle, if not more so, if you haven't had enough sleep than it is to actually drive drunk. So the long-term effects of not getting enough sleep is it causes immune suppression, which is a big deal. We don't want our immune system to be suppressed. We can have increased risks of infection and cancer and diseases. Already covered that really well last week, so I'm just going to hit the highlights. It can increase cardiovascular disease, diabetes too. It can cause metabolic syndromes, even stomach ulcers and abnormal digestion. So it's a big deal. We can't break down the food that we ate the day before if we're not sleeping. We're not repairing our cells. It releases stress hormones that then elevate our risk for heart disease and stroke. And then psychiatric concerns, people, their mood is really unstable when they don't get sleep over long periods of time. Think about if you've ever had kids, and then like the postpartum period, you feel like you're going insane, like you can't remember anything, you feel like irritable, you can cry at a drop of a hat. Some of that's hormones, but also just lack of sleep. That's what we use, not we, but that's what people use as torture, right? So it can lead to anxiety and depression, also increased stimulant and sedative use, because you're trying to wake yourself up, and then at night you can't go to sleep, so you have to use sedatives, and it's just this vicious cycle that's really hard on our filtering organs as well. And then of course, people who have prolonged periods of not enough sleep, it increases their risk of mental health crisis. So it's a big deal to get sleep. You know, mental illness, if you have mental illness here and sleep disruption here, the overlap is that those share pathways in the brain. So that's really, really important that we're getting the sleep that we need. The hormones and neurochemicals that we need, like noradrenaline, dopamine, acetylcholine, serotonin, glutamate, histamine, GABA, gelanin, orexin, like there's just so many that we need that we get when we sleep, and if we don't have those, then our brain can't function the way it needs to. While we sleep, we know that our brain regulates growth and repair of our cells in our body. That's when we process information, like I said, we develop memories, we process our emotions. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but just think about that. If you're waking in the night or you're not going to sleep in time, you don't have time to process your emotions and your memories from the day before, and they carry over into the next day. And then sometimes, since we can't deal with those, we stuff those emotions, and they actually, you know, create chemical reactions, and then we just wrap them in a fat cell and push them as far away from our vital organs as possible. So we have a lot of visceral fat that can happen from not getting enough sleep, believe it or not. So while we're sleeping, we're replacing our energy reserves, we're rebuilding our metabolism, and we're removing waste products. And if we're not sleeping, we're not doing those things. So we're you know, fat and sick and just not functioning at our optimum capacity. So some of the things that you can do to get sleep is just to create really good sleep hygiene. I'm looking off of some notes just to keep us on track, but if you have like a good sleep hygiene throughout the day, it can actually help you sleep at night. So it's kind of interesting thinking about setting the tone in the beginning of the day so that you can actually work it into your whole day. So getting up at the same time is a big important thing. When you wake up, if you add I'm going to be talking about doTERRA products that support, so you can add grounding oils like Balance or Patchouli to the backs of your knees and the bottoms of your feet. Your big toe is connected to the reflex points in your brain, like your reflexology connected to your brain. So the big toes are a really great place to apply oils if you want it to affect your brain and cognition and sleep. Another thing you can do is a drop of frankincense and a drop of copaiba underneath your tongue or in a capsule. And I always like to add a little drop of clove in there for my immune system as well. So all three of those are really great for immune function, but it's great to have the frankincense and the copaiba just for the cellular function as well. And then that just helps you have, you're awake, you're alert, you've got increased brain function, so you're not tired and groggy. And another thing that you can do is take care of your digestive health in the morning, so throughout the day, by doing a PB Assist, which is our probiotic with breakfast, and taking our Lifelong Vitality supplements and Terrazyme. So those are digestive enzymes as well. So getting that whole food nutrition, eating really healthy throughout the day just gives you the energy and the fuel you need throughout the day, so you're less likely to use stimulants like caffeine to keep you awake and going throughout the day. You're actually having sustained energy throughout the day, and that's really going to help set you up for a good night of sleep. And then if you think about in the afternoon, I really like to also, when I get up, put some oils in my diffuser that really wake me up and help me be alert. So lots of citrus oils. I will put I like tangerine and wild orange, and then I'll add like some Siberian fir and maybe some peppermint or spearmint. I'm really liking those right now, just to help wake me up during the day. And so I will refill the diffuser in the afternoon as well, and put some mood support oils in there. So I know my kids are going to be coming home in a couple hours, so I might put some grounding oils in there for the afternoon and just really support the emotions of my family as we transition into the afternoon. I also make sure I take my vitamins, my lifelong vitality vitamins, with my lunch, and add some more Terrazyme with my afternoon meal. And then I will do like some citrus oil in my water. So I have a glass cup with a metal straw. You can also get glass straws or just not use a straw. As long as you're not putting it in plastic, it's a really great delivery system to put your oils in water as well, just for that sustained energy and that mood support throughout the day. So it's important to do that, because if I've found for myself, if I let my emotions build up throughout the day and I don't manage them in the morning or the afternoon, then by the time the evening rolls around, I'm pretty frazzled, and then I'm not as likely to get good sleep, because I will do things like stay up late and watch Netflix, or zone out on Facebook, or, you know, things that I do to kind of help myself calm down, maybe in a less healthy way. So, and then those being on screens disrupts my sleep. So in the evening, you know, I'll take some more Terrazyme with my dinner and another PB Assist. And then I also will either diffuse things like On Guard, or take an On Guard Plus to support my immune system. But then I will also start putting calming oils in the diffuser. And so for most people, that looks like lavenders and cedar woods and patchouli, vetiver, our serenity blend. Like, our grounding oils in the diffuser in the evening are really great for sleep hygiene. And they just kind of transition into like even more of a settling down after dinner and homework's done. So first, I'm going to tell you 4 different like doTERRA bedtime routines, and you can kind of grab whichever one you think would work for you, or maybe just take note of all of them and give them all a try. I've really found that, just like with my food, I need to vary it, just because my body kind of goes, okay, we've gotten enough of this, maybe we'll want something different. So just like I vary my diet, I also vary my sleep routine a little bit, and I vary the oils that I use. And so I've heard this a lot, where people will say, well, I was using lavender and then all of a sudden it quit working for me. Well, it might just be that your body's had enough lavender and it might want something else for support. So we have so many different oils, and so I'm going to talk about a lot of them tonight. And you can just really just give them a try. Try the ones you have. I kind of tell people, it's like when you go to the liquor store or whatever, you kind of start with the bottom shelf and you work yourself up to the top shelf. So maybe you have like a $10 oil, like a citrus oil, or you know, you kind of start with like your lower priced oils, and you just kind of work your way up. Well, you can either do that, or you can start with like the flowers and then go to the woods, you know, and the citrus, and you can just kind of play with the oils and see what works for you. And you know, everybody's different, and so that's why we're going to be talking about a variety of options tonight. So option number 1 for a bedtime routine, a lot of people have found that lavender helps them fall asleep and lemon helps them stay asleep. And I've found that this is a really good one for kids. I like to have a diffuser in all my kids' rooms, because then that's part of our bedtime routine. We fill the diffuser, the kids get to pick the oils that they want, and we just have our standard few that we use. So one option would be to put some lavender and lemon in the diffuser, just a couple drops of each with some water. And then I give my kids a few different roller bottles by their bed. So if they wake up in the middle of the night, they know that they can just put their oils right on. They're on their nightstand. And I have oils on my nightstand as well. So you could apply like lavender to their toes, or they could apply lavender to their toes if they're old enough, if they wake up in the night. So that's one option. And then another option is we have the Restful Blend, and it's, I don't know if you can see it, Serenity. So Serenity Restful Blend has lavender, cedarwood, hoe wood, ylang ylang, marjoram, Roman chamomile, vetiver, and vanilla and Hawaiian sandalwood. So there's a lot of calming flowers as well as those grounding wood oils. And so this is a really nice option for a lot of people. So you can diffuse Serenity while you sleep. And then you can also apply it to the bottoms of your feet and your big toes if you're awakened. And so between last week's webinar and this webinar, I've probably had 5 out of the 7 nights were not great sleep. Either I had a late bedtime or I got awakened in the night. And so I had a lot of opportunities to try this week, because I usually sleep really well because I have my oil routine that I do. And I've started going to bed, starting my bedtime routine by like 9 and being, lights out by 10. I'm pretty good about that. But this last week I've had just disruption to my schedule. And so I was like, I'm going to try these again and see, oh, yep, they still work. So I've really actually grown in fondness for Serenity when I wake up in the middle of the night. I have 4 kids, and a couple of my kids are intense dreamers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And so we get woken up at least a couple nights every week. And so I started just trying this week to, let's be really good about putting these on our toes and seeing if we go back to sleep. And both my daughter and I were like, hey, that really works. I mean, I knew it worked, but like I've experienced it this week. So I thought that was kind of funny. The third option is we have the Serenity Restful Complex in a soft gel. And a lot of people maybe don't want to smell the oils, but they want the effects of them. And so you can take 2 soft gels about 30 minutes before you would go to bed, or you can even take like 1 30 minutes and then 1 right before. It depends on what you like, but I just do it all at once. I take 2 together, and then I go brush my teeth and get my pajamas on and do my bedtime routine. I might read a few pages of a book, and then I'm out. So taking 2 Serenity soft gels and then putting lavender or Serenity on your toes, and then again putting Serenity or even cedarwood on your toes if you wake up in the middle of the night, just to go back to sleep. It just helps you not lay there and think, oh my gosh, I have to get up in 3 hours, but just to be able to like shut the thinker back down and go back to sleep. And then the 4th option, if you find that lavender is really energizing for you, and instead of making your mind calm down, it actually like makes more thoughts happen. I am one of those people. Although Serenity on my toes, I was pretty pleasantly surprised. Works really well still, even though lavender tends to ramp me up at night. So for people like me, diffusing wild orange and balance is a really great option. That's an alternative to lavender and Serenity, and then putting balance on your toes if you wake up in the middle of the night. So I've been really, really pleased with those. Let's see. So preparing for sleep, just the kind of the standard things, but I might say a few that you hadn't heard. So I think it's worth repeating, or just being reminded that if you minimize light exposure at least 30 minutes before bedtime, dimming lights, just going around and turning off the lights that you're not using in your house. If you have dimmer switches, those are great options. I have friends who wear the orange glasses after a certain time, and then not being on screens for at least 30 minutes, if not an hour before bed, is really, really beneficial. There's lots and lots of science behind that. So if you're not familiar with that, you can go ahead and check that out. Also having a regular dinner time. This isn't something that my family's been always great about, but I find that when we eat at a regular time, my digestion is more regular. And so then I won't be woken up because I ate too late, and then my stomach's like all churny and gurgly and using my energy to digest my food all night. I have personal experience with this one. Last year, I had gotten into a habit of having a glass of wine every evening, and sometimes 2, maybe 3, just depending on how the day went. And I had like the world's worst year of sleep last year. And I didn't know until I did more research that actually when you have alcohol before bed, or you use sedatives to induce sleep, it interrupts your REM sleep. You actually don't get that really good deep sleep that you need. And so you wake up and you don't feel like you were rested. And so, I mean, sometimes people would think, oh, I have a hangover, but often it's just, I didn't get any deep sleep. You know, not to mention the fact that when you have alcohol or prescription drugs, your liver and your kidneys are working hard to filter that out of your body. And so the energy that you would be using to repair your cells throughout your body is really concentrated in your liver and kidneys. And so the rest of your body function and body systems suffers. So I would really encourage you to avoid alcohol and sedatives to induce your sleep, which is why having natural options has been so important for us. You know, I rarely have alcohol anymore, and I'm just finding that as I'm using different coping skills, I don't really need that glass of wine at the end of the day to take the edge off anymore. It's a lot better on my body, and it's a lot better on my budget too. I mean, everybody kind of knows the big one of no caffeine after 3 p.m. If you're really sensitive, like they really recommend don't even have it after noon. So, you know, thinking about like things like chocolate and green tea and coffee, and, you know, there's lots of, you know, then there's always like the Red Bull and all that kind of stuff. Just avoid that. If you can avoid caffeine altogether, that's great. We have a really great product called Max, and it's really great when you are trying to get that natural energy that's sustained throughout the day, non-jittery, and that it doesn't deplete your body systems. It actually repairs them and helps your cellular function. It's like really, really supportive for mitochondria. So we have a whole thing on that on our website if you want to know more about that. But you could really actually go completely off of caffeine if that's something that you want to try to do. Also, exercise is so important. If you're exercising, you're going to sleep better because your body, you kickstart all those functions like metabolism, and then you're going to need cellular repair. And so your body just wants to sleep when you've gotten all that good oxygen in your lungs and you know, your blood's flowing. But do it earlier in the day. If you exercise at night, sometimes you're wide awake and then you can't sleep. So not within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime. Avoiding stressful situations before sleep. And I've even found that watching stressful things on TV, like, you know, you put the kids to bed and then you're like, yay, it's grown-up time. I can watch my crime shows or my mystery shows or my action movies that I wouldn't watch when my kids are around. But you think about the intensity and the emotional drama of those shows, and then you go to sleep, and that's what you were thinking about right before you went to sleep. And so that kind of works itself into your dreams and your memories, and that can actually create stress and make it more difficult to sleep. Or you can have funky dreams. You know, it's like there's a reason why we don't let little kids watch scary movies and then send them to bed, because they're in our bed all night with nightmares. But it's like that for adults too. We just maybe don't remember our dreams as much, some of us. Also, they say avoid napping. If you're tired, like you can pull through, like talked about doing the supplements and putting citrus in your diffuser and in your water just to give you natural energy to get you through to the evening, and then go to bed early. Because if you have a sleep deficit, you want to make that deficit up if you can. But taking a 20-minute power nap here or there is okay, but if you get in the habit of napping, then it can really delay, like when you're tired and ready to go to sleep, and it just has a snowball effect. You, of course, want to remove distractions from your sleeping space. You just want your bedroom to be associated with sleeping and lovemaking, you know, so maybe reading. So just keeping it pretty sterile, and like not having a lot of distractions in there, not having big laundry piles, or not making it the catch-all, because if you have a cluttered sleeping space, it's not restful. That clutter can actually be like just toxic to your peace and your ability to rest. A lot of people really find that keeping it dark and keeping your bedroom cool, not too hot, not too cold, is really nice. And then just having a consistent bedtime and wake up time routine, you know, maybe reading before bed or listening to music. I find that I have a meditation app on my phone that I'll listen to before I go to sleep, and that just helps me get into a more relaxed state right before I go to bed, and helps me just begin that whole emotional processing and memory processing that happens. I tend to be a pretty vivid dreamer, and I do a lot of emotional processing in my sleep. And so if I start out in just even a 20-minute meditation, it just jump starts that, and then I'm able to just quickly go to sleep and stay asleep. I also have a app on my phone called Think Up, where I record in my own voice positive affirmations that I'm working on, just replacing lies and fearful beliefs with love-based truth beliefs about who I am and why I'm on this planet and things like that. Because a lot of times at night, people don't sleep well because they have a lot of negative self-talk in their head. So I'm feeling like I'm struggling with that. I just listen to that in my, you know, in that going to sleep time, and that really helps. There's a timer on it, so it turns itself off if I fall asleep before it's over. So the meditation app I like is called Insight Timer, and it's got little bells that are like singing bowls, so it just sound or gong sounds, so that you can make sure you are your mind's not wandering when you meditate, but you can turn those off if you want to use it for sleep. And then there's also like the Calm app, or there's so many different apps you can use that I really find to be helpful. I like to read before I go to bed a lot, and just that helps get me kind of drowsy. I can't tell you how often I've fallen asleep on a book. That's just a happy way to fall asleep. So, you know, they say if you read 10 pages of a personal development book, or a book that's enriching to you, at the end of the year, that's like 3,650 pages roughly that you've read, and that can really change your mindset as well. So I love that. A lot of people like to take baths before bed, that hot water. I mean, we do this with our kids, but really good self-care for us could maybe include a bath, just to help get us drowsy. And you can add some essential oil to some bath salts, and if you put it in the salts before you mix it in the water, then it's not going to all have your oil stay on the top of the water. It actually gets all mixed into your water, and it's a really nice way to have a relaxing bath before bed. So let's see. There's some, you know, reasons maybe why people aren't sleeping so well that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So I'm just going to go over some of those. You know, a lot of people don't sleep because they hurt. They're in pain. They've got soreness or stiffness, or they've had an injury or a surgery or something. Or for whatever reason, they have pain or inflammation in their body. And so essential oils are a really great natural way to support that. So, you know, if you know anything about our products, we have like our deep blue rub that you can rub right onto sore muscles or joint areas. And it's just really deeply penetrating, and it just helps soothe that so well. Other oils that are great for that are like wintergreen, peppermint. I like cypress. Cypress is a great circulation oil. We call it the oil of motion and flow. So anytime I want to have increased flow or circulation in my body, I add cypress to it. Marjorum's really great for pain support as well. So if you can put those on either with a massage or just rubbing them on, even like a roller bottle, you know, that where you can just reach it yourself, is just a really great way to help support your body if you know that you're going to be hurting. And then we have a product called Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex that it's not like this kind of deep blue, it's just in that same line, but it's just phenomenal for inflammation and pain support. And our Lifelong Vitality vitamins have a lot of support in them for inflammation as well. So a lot of people find that they just don't ache and hurt the way that they used to before they started using those products. Another thing, like my son, he said last night his tummy was upset and he was awake in the middle of the night. And I keep a roller bottle of Digestin by my bed for that very reason. I find that it's really great if my stomach has a lot to digest, and also if emotionally I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. I've found that I can just put it like right on the top of my head, or like my temples or the back of my neck, anywhere where I want to affect my brain, right? So I've got a lot of thoughts I want to digest. There's a lot of oils in here that support that as well, which is really cool. And then of course you can rub it on your abdomen as well. And then let's see, peppermint's a great digestion support oil. Fennel, there's ginger. And then we talked about before using the Terrazyme digestive enzyme and the PB Assist. And then we have these really cool, they're like a calcium carbonate tablet that has Digestin in it. They're really intense. Like you get 100 chewable tablets, and I usually break them in half because they're pretty intense. But if you have like reflux issues or anything you would like use an over-the-counter antacid for, you could definitely use Digest tabs for to support those same issues. So I had a period of time where I was doing a lot more animal protein I was trying to do the Whole30 diet, and it just messed with my digestion. Like I did not have enough HCl to break all that protein down. And so I had it was like on the clock, I'd be like, oh, it's 1 a.m. I'd feel it start up here. And then it would wake me up and I'd run to the kitchen, and eventually I started keeping them by my bed, and grabbed a Digest tab and chewed it up really quick and tried to keep everything from coming up. And that was a miserable couple months until I got all that back in the proper function, because that was no fun. So I'm so grateful for this product. Let's see, so digestive support, kids sometimes will wake up because they have tummy aches. So if you put Digestin on their bottoms of their feet before you put them to bed, that can be a way to help support them so they don't wake up with tummy aches. Because like a gas pain will wake a baby up or a little one up, and they might not even know why they're waking up, but you can just support that preemptively. It's not going to hurt anything if it isn't gas that's waking them up, but it's just a kind of a cool mom hack. Let's see, a lot of people too, they wake up at night because their hormones are changing. Like they're either like they're not they're just not staying the same as they used to. They're transitioning into a later period of life, and it's really cool that we have oils that can help support that as well. So Some of our oils that are really great for our changing hormones, we have a blend called Clary Calm, and we also, you could use Clary Sage as well, which is just the single oil that's in that blend. But Clary Calm is really nice for women of all ages, like preteen, teen, you know, early adulthood, and then our later years as well. So I love that blend a lot. Ylang Ylang and Whisper are really good hormonal support oils too. And as far as like, some people are high in one hormone and low in another one, and they don't always know what oils to use. So my rule of thumb is I just take all the oils I know that support hormones, and I just take the caps off and I say, smell this. And if your nose says, yes, this is the one, then I'm like, oh, let's try that one. And 9 times out of 10, things start leveling out for them. Another thing that's kind of fun with hormones that I found is the Terrazyme that we were taking for digestive hormones is helpful. But then also there's a Zendocrine product. So it's for your endocrine support. It supports like all of your endocrine system. And one of the things that people are finding is that their hormone levels were leveling out. And so I also recommend that. That actually helped me during a period after I'd had my daughter where everything was all wonky. It just helped my mood stabilize and I wasn't so up and down. And that was a huge relief for me and for my family. Let's see, we have the women's vitamins, and they come with a phytoestrogen complex as well, and the Clary Calm together. You can get them as a set. Those 3 are a really great place to start, especially if you're going through the change. So that can help support you. You know, a little glass bottle with peppermint oil misted in if you have night sweats or things like that is also just a really nice relief for a lot of people. Sometimes, like last year when I was going through that period of just terrible sleep, I had a lot of really bad, what I thought were just bad habits. Like I wanted to just watch TV until late. You know, I would like binge watch Netflix and drink my wine or eat my chocolate, or you know, I just had some coping skills that weren't very healthy. And I started to do emotional work with the oils, and I found that there were things that had happened in my life that I hadn't processed very well, and they were starting to come up for me because I was starting to do a lot of inner work with the oils. And there were things that I was avoiding. And so I was actually, like, what might look like a bad habit on the surface might just be something that you're not quite ready to deal with, that's coming up for you. So you could be avoiding intimacy. There could be some stressful things going on in your life that you don't really want to go to bed because you don't really want to lay there and think about it. So you just stay up later and later hoping you'll get really tired so then you can lay down and fall asleep. But what ends up happening is your body gets used to staying awake later and later, and then you kind of get caught up in that vicious cycle of that sleep deficit. Sometimes as moms with young kids, we think that it's self-care to stay up late and watch Netflix, or just to do whatever the heck we want, because it's the only time we get quiet in the house. But I've found that as I've started to go to bed earlier, then I can actually wake up earlier, and my days actually go a lot better if I try to grab that time in the morning, which when my kids were little, I couldn't even fathom getting up before my kids. It was just, I was not in that place. And my youngest is 7 now, and it's taken me a long time to figure it out. But when I go to bed earlier, I get that deeper REM sleep. I do that processing, and I actually wake up refreshed. And then I have just a couple hours of quiet. I don't get up. I dare not get up and move around because someone will hear me and think that that's their clue to get up. But if I just stay in my room with my water and my meditation app or my yoga mat or my book or whatever, or I just lay there and think thoughts, you know, that are uninterrupted, or I might journal things that came up in my meditation or things that I woke up, thoughts that I had in the night that I woke up thinking. I will write those things down. Let's see. Yeah, and then we also talked about the alcohol already. So some things you can do to kind of support that brain that just will not turn off, or you wake up with the negative self-talk or the anxious thoughts. Like sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just be like, you know, and just a full-on panic attack almost, just racing thoughts. That will happen to me sometimes. And I find like when I go to bed late, it usually happens about anywhere between 1 and 4 in the morning. I will wake up with those racing thoughts. Bergamot is a really good support oil. It's a citrus oil that's really helpful. And if you're wondering how I know this, like this book, Emotions and Essential Oils, it talks a lot about each oil and what emotionally it's been found to do. So like bergamot is really great for feelings of self-judgment and helping us with self-acceptance. So I use that to support when I wake up and I just think, oh my gosh, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Or I have to do this and I didn't do it. Or, you know, just the mean things I say to myself when I first wake up, that little liar in my head that wants to accuse me and make me feel bad. Another thing that I learned is that lavender is the oil of communication. And so a lot of times, really like spiritually or emotionally sensitive people don't do super well with lavender, because instead of calming us down, it actually makes us wide awake and it makes all the thoughts go. And so people who are really empathetic, they hear other people's thoughts and emotions, and they feel each other's feelings, and that's like enhanced and heightened by lavender and other communication oils too. So like clary sage or sandalwood or vetiver, they can sometimes actually make our brains more chatty because they're more communication oils. So if we are looking for a grounding oil for empaths, like patchouli is a really good one. And then oddly, oils that are calming to most people are energizing to us. Well, oils that are energizing to most people will be calming to us. So things like wild orange is a really great sleep oil for people who are sensitive. Or I mean, I guess you can, we did a little litmus test. I had not diffused lavender or anything lavender in my room for a long time because I knew that I don't do well with it, but I was like, I'm just going to give it a try. It was this week. I'm like, I'm going to be talking about this. I want to know about this. If I can handle it, let's try it again. I put serenity and frankincense in the diffuser, and I tossed and turned all night long, and so did my husband. And I was like, oh no, you're sensitive too. I had no idea. So like, he's a sensitive guy, but I mean like emotionally and energetically sensitive, spiritually sensitive. And so oils that go well in our diffuser at night are like the balance and wild orange or cedarwood or patchouli. And I use breathe. Breathe has peppermint in it. So most people wouldn't use that at night, but I love it. It opens up my airways. It helps me get deeper, restful sleep because I breathe deeper and I feel like I can get into a deeper sleep. And it's great for respiratory support, but it helps me sleep. And so just that's another thing. If you go, gosh, somebody gave me lavender and it didn't help me, and I tried, you know, vetiver and clary sage, and I couldn't sleep at all, or I woke up in the middle of the night and I just couldn't shut my brain off. Try oils that typically people would use to wake up. So the citrus and the mint, and see what happens. And then at least you'll know. And you were already losing sleep, so maybe just, what does it hurt to try one more time and see? Maybe you can stumble onto something. And then another thing too is if you do find yourself waking up between 1 and 4 in the morning, you may be getting communication from God, like in the middle of the night. You know, people get messages in their dreams, and that is not that uncommon actually. And like my kids, you know, they wake up several nights a week, and it's really intense. And so I've started kind of like that Bible story of Samuel in the Bible, where the kid keeps waking up the priest every night, and it's like, did you call me? Did you call me? And finally, after like 3 nights of this, the priest's like, I think God might be trying to tell you something. And so it's kind of like that story, only maybe not as intense, but just telling my kids, like, pay attention to what you think your dreams are telling you, or you know, we can talk about that in the morning. And then another thing that I've found to be helpful is just to tell God, like, hey, I'm closed from 12 to 6, or I'm closed from 10 to 6, or, you know, whenever your hours are, you're like, I need to sleep from this time to this time. So I don't want to get any messages at night. I'd like to get my messages during the day. And you can totally do that. You're like, my business hours are this time to this time. And that really helps a lot. Kiddos that wake up in the night because they need bladder support, their kidneys aren't down regulating their function properly. You can look at their diet. Sometimes they have like a food sensitivity, or they have a lot of stress and anxiety, and it's like they're in fight or flight, so they don't let their body systems shut down all the way for the night. Ways you can support that: if they're old enough to take a capsule, you can put 1 or 2 drops of cilantro in a capsule, and they can take that. Or you can also do cypress and juniper berry. Juniper berry is a great one for just not being afraid of things in the dark. And so we rub those on the bottoms of their feet, and I do on my kids' abdomen as well. And I have my son, he wakes up at night a lot, and he really likes whisper and cypress together. And then I threw some juniper berry in there for good measure. And he has a roller bottle of that, and those are his sleep oils. My daughter tends to like different oils. Like she likes like lime and lemon and stuff, which normally like you would look at that and go, those are not sleep oils, those are morning oils. But for her, those are calming. And so also I just let my kids smell oils and what they're drawn to. They're pretty intuitive, I've found, and they know what they need. Their body will tell them. They know through their nose. So let's see, I have a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Some really heavy hitters for mood support, whether you have like lots and lots of like anxious feelings and racing thoughts. Melissa is a really, really good oil for that, as well as just feeling really, really low and having no energy and no drive and just feeling like you can't go on. Melissa is really great for that. It's also fantastic for people who are recovering from trauma. And those, you know, we don't realize how much our mental and our emotional health affects our sleep. So, like I said, juniper berry helps release fears, trauma, and nightmares. Frankincense balances brain activity, supports a sense of protection, safety, and it releases traumatic memories. The other night, though, I put the serenity and frankincense in my diffuser, and I was awake all night. So I've done frankincense in my diffuser with other oils, and it's been totally fine. I'll also do it under my tongue, but on your feet is a really great way to use that as well. And just kind of pay attention to how it affects you. And then always, always, always patchouli is a good rule of thumb for me. I can get a really good deep night's rest with my patchouli. It's a kind of a natural sedative. It grounds and stabilizes, and it really supports the central nervous system. Let's see. Other ones that I haven't thought of. I think that's it on that one. Another one that you could do for kids to help them fall asleep and stay asleep, if you don't do the lavender and lemon, is you can also do the lavender and the wild orange, or the balance and the wild orange. And then for kids who aren't super sensitive to the oils, like the communication oils, you can do a blend in a 10 ml roller bottle. This blend's called Lights Out, and I'm getting this from the Oil Life book, or the Essential Life book. You can get it through Oil Life. So it's 2 drops of vetiver, 2 drops of cedarwood, 2 drops of patchouli, 2 drops of lavender, or sorry, serenity, and 3 drops of ylang ylang in a 10 ml, and you just roll it on their feet at bedtime. And then sometimes kids, you know, they don't do well with transitions from like, hey, we're playing, to now it's bedtime. And so there are some really great, like, just like we need sleep routines, our kids need sleep routines too. And if we can get that started earlier and get the kids in bed, then we can feel like we have a moment to ourselves to just kind of regroup and then still start our bedtime routine at a decent hour. So putting our kids to bed at the same time every night, and then starting our routine at the same time. You know, sometimes we have evenings where we're out, but if it's just the constant that we're always trying to work towards, that really helps as well. So let's see, you can do 2 to 3 drops of balance and vetiver on the back of neck during times of transition, whether that's from like being at home to going to school or daycare, and then when they come home from school or daycare, and then like transitioning to dinner time, and then after dinner time. You know, I keep these roller bottles all around my house, and I just swipe necks. Like, I just, come here, you know, or they lift up their little back of their shirt and I just get it up and down their spine, or they're sitting on the couch and they've got their socks off. I just whoop, whoop, up and down everybody's feet. And another really awesome thing to do to really connect with your kids at the end of the day, if you still have it in you, is putting a couple drops of oils down their spine and giving them a little back massage, or giving them a little foot massage, or even a hand massage, as long as it's not something that would hurt if it went in if they rubbed their eyes, or taste yucky if they put their hands in their mouth. But because even after you wash your hands, it's not always, you can still taste and smell it or feel it if you rub your eyes. So I usually, little kids, I don't do their hands, but older kids, I could do that. But my kids, I have a couple ticklish ones. So we just try to have some contact, you know, and if you add the aroma or the scents to the whole thing, it just adds a dimension to that way that we can connect with our kids. And then it adds touch. It's an intention of connection and just setting them up to have a really restful night's sleep. And then, you know, just maybe talking to them about their day or whatever. And I have to be honest, that's not my department. I do the oiling, and then my husband does the tucks and the kisses and the prayers and all that, because by that point of the day, I'm done. I do the morning, like I'm super good to go in the morning, and I'm like high-fiving everybody and telling them to be awesome today and sending them out the door, and I'm good in the morning. But by the end of the day, I'm done. So tag teaming, if that's an option for you, is really awesome as well. Just to kind of notice, like, ooh, my spouse seems frazzled or whatever, and letting them sit that one out is just a really awesome way to then connect with your spouse at the end of the day, because they're like, hey, thanks for having my back, you know. And then the kids get the freshest parent as well. So I just want to thank you for your time and your attention. Again, if the person who invited you to view this, we would love for you to get back with them to get these products, or to figure out a sleep routine that you could try. And we still have some openings for people who want to try some essential oil products for a sleep study that we're doing. So message either myself or Sarah or Kirty about that as well. So just thank you for your time and your attention, and I look forward to hearing back about how this helped you get the night's sleep that you need and that your family and you deserve. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.